listening to an audio article by the Common Constitutionalist. Today's article is entitled, Trump Declares Dead the One-Sided, Unsigned, Unagreed-Upon Non-Agreement. On Tuesday night, Mark Levin was speaking of the Iran nuclear deal that was just sent to the scrap heap by President Trump. To this, Levin said it was a great decision, and he added that it was also a statesman's decision with an accompanying statesman-like speech to the American people. I agree. However, as Mark continued, he said something I disagree with, and which I think is quite important. Ultimately, the most important thing to be gleaned from this whole Obama-Kerry foreign policy scam. That is that this deal wasn't and isn't foreign policy. It's not a deal, an agreement, a treaty, or anything else. It was merely a wish list laid out by Obama and his anti-colonialist, anti-Semitic brothers and sisters, no different than ones crafted for Santa Claus. But then Mark went on to say, quote, Barack Obama cut a deal with this rogue regime. John Kerry negotiated it, unquote. Unfortunately, this is not accurate. I know that Mark knows this and was merely making a point, but many less erudite do not, which is why I think it's important to boil this Iran agreement down to its essence. The essence of the agreement between the United States and Iran is as real as are unicorns. There is no essence because there is no deal. Never was one. In November 2015, it was reported that, quote, the Obama administration has disclosed to Congress that this summer's controversial nuclear arms agreement with Iran was never signed and it is not legally binding, according to the report this week. The State Department made the disclosures in a letter to Kansas Congressman Mike Pompeo, a Republican, who had written the department to inquire why the agreement as submitted to Congress in July did not bear the signature of Iranian President Hassan Rouhani, unquote. Wow, small world, isn't it? The very same curious Congressman Pompeo is now Trump's Secretary of State. What goes around comes around, I guess. So what does this mean? Well, let me put it to you this way. Let's say you want to sell your car rather than trade it into a dealership. Maybe it's not worth much and you feel you can get more by selling it for more than its trade value. So you park it on your front lawn and there it sits, week after week, with not a single offer. Finally, someone shows up and says he would like to purchase your car, but can't afford to pay for it all at once. He can give you 10% now and pay $50 per week until it's paid off. You think about it for a day or so, then finally agree. A little coming in every week is better than nothing. So you draw up a simple purchase and sale agreement stating the terms of the sale and repayment schedule. The buyer is eager to take possession of the car. You sit down, pull out a pen, and sign and date the agreement. When it's his turn, he tells you he will sign no such agreement, but still wants to drive the car home now. Whatever do you do? Do you tell him to pound sand and hit the bricks, or allow him to drive off, leaving you with an unsigned document, with promises to do things, but in fact is not worth the paper it's written on? Unless you're a moron, you choose the former and kick the guy to the curb. Without his signature, there is no agreement, and therefore he would have to abide by nothing in it. Yet as the now non-buyer drives away in his own car, your wife turns to you and says you've made a big mistake by not letting him take the car. And this is what Obama and Kerry got the United States into, and the mainstream press is telling Trump the same thing the seller's wife told him. You've made a big mistake by not abiding by the one-sided, unsigned, unagreed-upon non-agreement. The stupidity boggles the mind. By not signing the agreement, the Iranians agreed to exactly nothing the Obama administration said it did. As Mark said, quote, they didn't shut down any uranium pathway to nuclear weapons. They didn't dismantle a single Iranian nuclear site. They didn't shut down or even slow down Iran's ballistic missile development. They didn't require Iran to stop uranium enrichment. No anytime, anywhere inspections, and no requirement that Iran stop its sponsorship of global terrorism, unquote. And how could we? By not signing the agreement, Obama's masterpiece of diplomacy was in fact no more than a single-sided wish list. For many, this may be the first time you've heard this. I'm not surprised, as the mainstream media would never report such a thing. But why are the Republicans not shouting this from the rooftops, that Trump's decision was hardly momentous considering the facts of the case? No more momentous than you ripping up the unsigned and thus worthless car sale agreement. Thank you for listening.